Welcome to the School Improvement Institute training for steering team members. The topic of this video is preparation for Council Discussion 3 on goals. My name is Sue Reynolds and I am President of the American Student Achievement Institute. The content of this video includes two things. First, we'll do a quick review, and then we'll look at an overview and tips for this month's tasks. This month we'll be looking at goals. It is our third discussion with the School Improvement Council. Our first discussion was an introduction, and then last month we looked at creating a vision for student achievement. And then again this month we're going to look at goals. So just as a reminder, on your steering team, tasks have been delegated, and we'd like you very quickly to pause on this screen and just make sure that everyone on your steering team understands the tasks that have been assigned to him or her. So let's pause now. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully everybody understands the tasks that have been assigned to them. So next, we'd like to make sure that you have watched the discussion prompt for Council Discussion 3. So if you have not watched that prompt, let's pause this video now and then watch that video and then come back to this one. Okay, we'll pause now. Okay, welcome back. So at this point, everyone has watched the discussion prompt for Council Discussion 3 on goals. So let's look at that discussion. So first of all, the objectives for this month are that each of your council members will understand what a priority area for improvement is, or PAI is, and then also what a SMART goal is. Then each of your council members will review student achievement data. They'll identify data that they find to be pleasing or concerning, and they'll also identify student groups that may be experiencing achievement gaps. So here's a few tips. First of all, before opening your discussion, we suggest that you check two things. One is to check your vision statement. We want to make sure that your council has reached consensus regarding your vision statement, because as soon as you open the goals discussion, people will be able to click on the vision statement and read it. So you want to make sure that you've already reached consensus on the vision statement and that the vision statement is ready for the public to read, that the grammar's good, spelling's good, you've got everything the way you want it to be. Then the second thing we'd like you to check is the achievement data report. I'll show you how to find that report in a second. It's actually the data that you entered into the online system in October, plus some data that we auto-populated into the system. So you'll want to check the report to see, is all of the data entered and is the data accurate. My guess is that if your achievement data report meets criteria, that our staff has looked at it and said, yeah, it's good, that you're probably good to go, but we would like you to check that in case we missed something. So just make sure that all the data that you want to be there is there and that you've entered the data accurately. Okay, in talking about disaggregated data and achievement gaps, there's a couple things that we wanted to mention to you. In the video for your council members, we were very careful to always say, when we were talking about gaps, that a gap may be happening. For example, that boys and their peers or girls may be experiencing an achievement gap. We don't actually know if the gaps are due to true differences in achievement or if the gap is due to a bias in the achievement instrument or if it is a subjective assessment, a bias in the person that's making the assessment. So we can't say for sure that an achievement gap exists, but we can say that the data suggests that there may be an achievement gap. Also, whenever possible, please use objective data like test scores to back up any subjective data like report card grades. So we're always wanting the data to be as objective as possible. Okay, so let's look then at where you can find additional disaggregated data. To find this data, we need to open your achievement data report. So on the process page in the October tasks, which were the collect data tasks, on line 4 is where you went to enter achievement data. And over in the column under the report column is the icon then where you would click to open the achievement data report. So if I open that report, I come to a screen that looks like this, and you'll see that there is a link there that will take you to a DOE page. So if I click on that link, I go to this DOE page, and then if I scroll down on that page, I find this set of I-STEP reports that includes the 2014 disaggregated results by school. So if you open that report, it'll give you all of your school's drill down data for ethnicity, English language learners, free and reduced lunch students, and special ed students. So again, to get to that, you would start out on the process page, click on the icon, the report icon for the achievement data. That'll open up the achievement data report. Then click on the link to DOE's website, and then scroll down to find the disaggregated results. Okay, so that just gives the steering team a little bit of extra objective data that might help you back up some of the more subjective data that your council is finding in your achievement report. For example, in the council video, we talked about mastery grade data that showed an achievement gap that suggested a possible achievement gap between boys and girls, and also between paid lunch and free and reduced lunch. So what you could do just to verify that data a little bit is to go to this DOE report, open up the actual I-STEP data, and go to the drill down, say, for free and reduced lunch and paid lunch students, and see if you're noting a similar achievement gap. Okay. Then, one other thing we think it's important that everyone understands is that we believe that all students can learn at a rigorous level. So when we see achievement gaps, what that suggests to us is that something is happening in the student's environment that is enabling some students to learn at a more rigorous level than other students. And our goal, of course, is for all students to learn, so that disturbs us, and we want to then work at closing that achievement gap. So, and then down the road, as we mentioned in the council's video, you're going to be looking at disaggregated root cause data to help you understand why the targeted student group is experiencing that gap. And then once we know the why, then in a future step, we'll start looking at interventions to start targeting the why so that the gap will start to go away. Okay, so after you've opened the discussion, you've had the discussion, you've monitored it, and now the discussion is closed. So there are some things that need to happen after this discussion. First of all, we need to have the council discussion point person enter a discussion summary online, send the summary to the council members, ask for corrections and additions, and then make the updates as needed to the summary. The student body point person will actually conduct the student body discussion after the council discussion this time. So it's council discussion first and then the student body discussion. And that's because we want to use some of the ideas generated in the council discussion as prompts for the student body discussion. So what you'll need to do, what the student body point person will need to do, is to enter several data points from the council discussion into the student body discussion prompt. And one other tip on this is please be sensitive about identifying concerns about specific student groups, especially in that gaps section. We've had lots of schools maybe look at desegregation and gaps between boys and girls, but when the gap gets to be between free and reduced lunch students versus paid lunch students, that may be something that you want to think carefully about having that discussion with your students. So just, use some caution in deciding which data to put on this discussion prompt. Okay, so let's look at the discussion prompt. It looks like this, and there's some instructions up here for the students. We're asking the students basically to think about what it's going to take for them to be successful in the future, and then they're going to review the data below, and then they're going to check any areas that they think the school should improve, and then with their group, they're going to reach consensus within their group about the top 2 or 3 areas that need to improve. Here's an example. Like in this first row, the example might be that we've written for the students, last year 47% of our students passed I-STEP math test. If that's something that's of concern to a student as they're reading this, then that student on his paper or her paper would check that one. So you've taken some of the concerns that have come up from the council, and you've just put them in here, and then you're just asking the kids, of all of these choices that you're seeing here, which are the ones that you think we should work on the most? It's kind of interesting after we actually get to the interventions and start implementing the interventions. It's kind of interesting how many schools will say to us that the students have said, oh, I get why we're doing this, because we're because this was one of the goals that we worked on last time. So it's kind of nice for the students to be able to see why you're doing the interventions that you're doing later and how they relate to the goals that the students had a chance to address. So I'm going to go back to the discussion prompt, and then of course after the students have had this discussion, you want to enter that summary of that discussion online. Okay. Then, if you are the council consensus point person, you'll be directing the next couple of steps. This time we're going to include the entire steering team in coming up with suggested goals, and it's a 3-part process. The first part is to identify the broad priority areas for improvement, or the PAIs. So with the entire steering team, using feedback from the council, you're going to identify suggested PAIs. So as a steering team, you'll talk about that, you'll discuss what you want your PAIs to be, and then you'll enter those into the online system. And remember, the Department of Education is suggesting that you have just 2, maybe 3 of those, but no more. So you're entering the broad PAIs into the online system, and then before you put in the SMART goals, you're going to submit those to us for review We'll take a look at them, see if anything pops out at us as maybe something you've missed in the data, and then we'll say meets criteria on those PAIs. At that point, you can go ahead and create SMART goals. So that leads us to the next step of establishing your goals, which is to, again, sit down with your council and say, okay, the PAIs are now meet criteria. Now what are the SMART goals going to be? So the steering team can use a form that we've created called the SMART Goal Help Sheet to help that discussion. And I'll show you that in a second. And then after you've identified the SMART goals, you'll enter them into the online system and then submit those for review. So let's look at that help sheet. The help sheet looks like this. And we've given you a couple of examples. So, for example, if your PAI was the percentage of third graders in the bottom 25% passing I-STEP English, that's the broad area, then we can make that more specific by drilling down to standards. So a SMART goal might be the percentage of third graders mastering reading vocabulary on I-STEP, or the percentage of third graders mastering literary response on I-STEP. So that's one way to make that specific SMART goal, to drill down into the standard. Another way is for high school, for example, is to drill down by course. So maybe your broad area is the percentage of students who are graduating, but now we've got to drill down. So first I might want to say, okay, which courses are keeping kids from graduating? Oh, algebra is a great roadblock for some courses, for some students. So I'm going to really want to work on percentage of students passing Algebra 1, so there's one drill down. And then I could go even further down to look at the standards within Algebra 1 and look at the percentage that are sketching and interpreting graphs. So we can drill down by course. We can also drill down by standard. So those are just some ways to kind of help you drill down that broad area into more specific SMART goals. Okay. Then, again, when you get those SMART goals finished, you're going to enter them online and then submit for review. Okay, then the third part is to send out the goals to your council for consensus. So you're going to download a copy of the Achievement Goals Report. That will include both the PAIs and the SMART goals. You'll save that report on your computer and then attach a copy of it to your council members for consensus. Remember, you've got that email address tool online, or you could print copies and send them in the mail to your council, or bring, however you want to distribute for consensus. Then, if the council says we cannot live with this the way it's written, nor can we support it publicly, then you'll need to make edits and then send it back to the council for their approval, and go back and forth as many times as you need to get those goals the way that everybody can support them. And one note, if the PAIs or SMART goals are edited, please resubmit them to ASA for review if they've changed. So again, taking a little step backwards, before you send these goals out to your council, they will be approved by ASA. But if the council doesn't like them, then we've got to go back and redo them and then submit them to ASA again. So we just want to make sure that the goals are well developed and be able to coach you a little bit on those goals before they go out to your council. Okay, so that's part 3 is consensus. So again, part 1 is the PAIs, writing the PAIs, and get them approved. Part 2 is the SMART goals. And part 3 is developing consensus. Okay, so here are the tasks that need to happen this month and who's responsible for them. And what we need you to do is to drop in the date for when each of these tasks will be completed. Other things to discuss are what will you do to encourage council members to participate in the online discussion, And how often will your discussion point person monitor the discussion? So let's pause the video now, and then using this screen as a kind of a discussion prompt, work through the to-do list and then how you're going to encourage people to participate and how often you're going to monitor. Okay, let's pause now. Okay, welcome back. You should have at this point a to-do list that will guide you through this month. And now let's look at the online system. Okay, so I'm going to open up the front page of a steering team system. So I'm logged in, and as always I'm going to go to the Process tab, and I am going to scroll down to my work for this month, which is the achievement goals. And you'll see now that each of these months is starting to follow the same format. It starts out with watching the steering team video, watching the council video, participating in the learning community that's coming up, and then conducting the discussion, monitoring discussion, entering the discussion summary. That's all kind of the same format as it's been before. Entering the student body discussion summary. Okay, so all of that, steps 1 through 7, is nothing new, just different topic. Then on step 8, we're going to enter the priority areas for improvement. I'll click on the Enter Edit icon, and I'm going to add a new priority area for improvement. And notice that everything below that is white, blank right now. In a minute that will change. So I'm going to add a new priority area, and all I have to do is answer these questions. So let's say that my first priority area is going to be around student proficiency and around math, and I'm specifically looking at 7th grade and the students who are in the bottom 25%. In this last part, I'm asked to create a rationale for why I'm doing this, why this is a priority area, and this rationale needs to be data-driven. So you might enter something like this. Data show, and you would be typing this in, data show that only 68% of the 7th graders passed ISTEP math test in 2014. 2013 ISTEP results are similar, 67%, as are the 2012 ISTEP math results, 69%. So we're kind of building a case here. We're building evidence of why this is a priority area for improvement. Okay, so when that's finished, I'm going to save. And notice that that pulls that up as my first PAI. It's student proficiency, it's math, 7th grade, bottom 25%. Okay, then I can add a new one. I'm just going to add another one real quickly. Let's say that this one is around student growth. Now let's make it proficiency again. This time let's make it English Language Arts. Let's make it also 7th grade and bottom 25%, and then we would type in the data that would show why this was a priority area for improvement. So then I'm going to save, and now I have 2 areas for improvement. Okay, so that's how to enter in the PAI. I'm going to go back to the process page and scroll down to the step that I'm working on. January, I've got the PAIs in. Now I'm going to submit to SI for review. And after that's improved, then I'm going to go on to SMART Goals. And when I click on Enter Edit there, you can see I've got 1 PAI there, and here's my second PAI. So each of your PAIs will have a tab at the top. Then I just need to add the SMART goals. So again, this first PAI is about math. It's about 7th grade, looking at the bottom 25% and its proficiency, so it's looking at the pass rate. So I'm going to add a SMART goal for this. So on my SMART goal, I can first of all narrow down the student group by grade level or class. If I put in grade level, all of the grades appear. If I want to identify the student group as a specific class that I'm going to follow over time, I can type in, I can check the year, the graduating year for that class. I'm going to go ahead with grade level, and this was a 7th grade broad area, so I'm going to put 7th grade in as my selected grade level. Then, if I wanted to, I could say, okay, I'm just really going to focus on my free and reduced lunch students because, you know, I'm seeing an achievement gap there. But on this one, I'm just going to click on all students, and notice when I clicked on all students that all the desegregated groups disappeared. So then I'm going to put in the benchmark, and let's say on this math standard, this is a 7th grade math standard, I'm going to put in master ratios standard on ISTEP. And on the historical data, I need to look that up and enter that in. And it may be maybe 54% mastered ratios in May of 2012, maybe 53% mastered in May of 2013, maybe 55% in May of 2014. My target data then is where I want to be for ASA's purposes a year from now. So I can say I'd like that to be at 60% in May of 2015. I can also add in another target if you want to. So I could say I want it to be 65% by May of 2016. So, and then the vision data, ideally, and let's say in this school they want ideally all students to be able to do this, ideally. So I put that in, click Save, and now here is my PAI, but here's my SMART goal underneath the PAI. So my SMART goal is to master racial standard on ISTEP. This is for 7th grade and all students. Okay, so that is there. Then, after I've got all of my SMART goals in for my first PAI, then I would go and start adding SMART goals for my second PAI. Okay, let's go back to the process page, and after all of your SMART goals are in, scroll back down to this month. After all of your SMART goals are in, then we would like you to review your achievement goals. This will give you a report with your PAIs and your SMART goals. So I'm going to review this, and I'm looking at it. Here's my PAI around proficiency in math, 7th grade, bottom 25%. And then here are my my SMART goals, and they'll be listed here. Okay, so when that report looks good to you, then you'll need to submit that report to ASA. That will submit both the PAIs again, but this time also with the SMART goals. And then, of course, always check the rubrics before you submit, so you make sure that you're checking for the same things that we're checking for. Okay, so that's that. And then just a couple of things, wrapping up. Just want to remind you again that the Indiana Conference on Learning is happening on February 26th. A little later this year. We have always had it in the end of January, but we thought end of February might give us a little bit better weather and still fit into the improvement process. Steve Brunn, who is the Commissioner for the Indiana Department of Workforce Development, is going to be one of our keynotes. I hope to introduce the other keynote early this week, the first week in January. I'm very excited if that one goes through. So as soon as we get the final confirmation, we'll let you know who that is. I'm just really excited about that one. So also remember that there's 60 breakout sessions featuring Indiana educators and community members who are implementing proven practices. Almost all of them are around, or not almost, all of them are around the more common root causes. So when you get to this conference, you will have identified already your school's root causes, and then you'll basically come shopping for interventions to address your root causes. Okay, also remember that there's complimentary registrations available through the College Success Coalition, another one of our initiatives. So if you are in a county that is shaded in any color except white, there are funds available for you. And if you're at a white county, there's $6,000 available for a steering team to start a coalition in those counties. Okay. Also, don't forget to register for the Small Learning Community on January 8th. So just click on that enter icon there and get registered for that. As you know, we've been changing the format month to month based on your feedback. And I think the ones we had last month, which were basically a discussion and very much less talking on our part, I think worked really well. So, okay. And then finally, don't forget that if you need help at any time, please call Mary Beth. Her job is to help you. So if you get stuck or confused or whatever, please contact Mary Beth. Remember, she has changed the 5-minute rule to the 5-second rule. So please, please, please call her. So thanks so much for participating in this video. Thank you for serving on your steering team. And again, please don't hesitate to call us if you need help along the way. Thank you so much.